an environmental management system. So everyone, please help me welcome Ms. Anna Munie.
I think I'm going to be a little bit short on visual aids actually, so you guys, I'm going to share. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and what is primarily Consumers Energy employees. But for those who are not Consumers Energy's employees, don't worry, I promise this will still make sense. All right, I have one problem with my job. I like working for Consumers Energy. Pretty easy to say, when I work for Consumers Energy, people understand what that means. When I say I work in the Environmental Services Department, people pretty much understand what that means. Well, what do you do in environmental services? I am the Environmental Management System Implementation Coordinator. Blank stares at that point. What on earth is an environmental management system? And how on earth do I fit Environmental Management System Implementation Coordinator on my business card? Well, to answer question number 2 first, environmental management systems are often referred to as EMS, and that's how I'm going to use that acronym in the interest of time, since this is a 5 to 7 minute speech. In terms of what an environmental management system is, that's a little bit more difficult to describe. But using the visual aids that I've presented here today, I think I can present a good visual picture of what these systems are, what Consumers Energy is implementing, and what you will see in the future. So what is an environmental management system? On a very broad level, an environmental management system seeks to link the operational activities of a company with their environmental requirements. Consumers Energy, utility, very heavily regulated in a variety of different areas. And the environmental is no exception. Generation facilities, gas pipelines, even the Parnell complex itself has specific environmental requirements that it has to follow, either defined by people like the EPA, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, local soil and erosion, or local planning committees, whatever the case may be. So you have these environmental requirements, extremely specific, laid out over here, and a small group of people like myself, Brian Vance, who's not here today, whose entire job is to make sure that the company follows the environmental requirements. But let's be honest, Consumers Energy does not exist to follow environmental requirements. Consumers Energy exists for its operations, providing electricity, providing natural gas, keeping the lights on, keeping people comfortable. Those are our operations. And you have this huge group of people over here whose entire job is to make sure that happens. Those are your operations. Operations people over here. Here's your environmental requirements. Environmental people over here. There's not really a good system for linking those two activities. And that's what an environmental management system does. It's a linkage between your operations and your environmental requirements. So how exactly does that environmental management system do that? Well, really, there's 3 main points, and I always do my 3 wrong. 3 main points that we want to make. First of all, an environmental management system is a proactive way to look at not just environmental requirements, but environmental performance of a company, going above and beyond the base requirements and being proactive, not responding to, all right, they said we have to do this, this, and this, and so we're going to do this, this, and this. That's still reactive. Somebody told you to do that, and so you're responding to what they told you to do. Worst case scenario, environmental should never be reactive in the sense that, oh my God, something went wrong, coal just spilled into the lake, gas pipeline just ruptured, and now we have huge environmental issues. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive. An environmental management system does that by providing high-level information that tells you how your company needs to perform in its environmental areas directly associated with the operations that make that company do what it does. As I mentioned before, this is a word that I've used so much that Brian's head's probably going to explode as soon as I say this word again, is framework. An environmental management system is truly that framework, that linkage between your operations and your requirements. It's not necessarily 1, 2, 3, 4, this is what somebody does every single day, how to do their job. It's not what it's designed to do. And it's not necessarily your overarching environmental policy that John Russell signed that just says, we're going to do right by the environment. It's right there in the middle. It provides the true framework of linkages to connect everything together. And finally, it's systematic. An environmental management system allows you to look at all of your environmental information the same way, regardless of what operation you're in, regardless of what activity you're doing, regardless of what part of the environment Consumers Energy or any other company might be impacting. So proactive, framework, and systematic. But what does it look like though? If you guys turn over your visual aids, first thing you're going to see is a pyramid. This is what we call the pyramid of documentation. And it tends to be how many environmental management systems are structured. A manual, procedures, work instructions, forms, pyramid of documentation. I want everybody to take that piece of paper. I want you to crumple it up. Come on, everybody. And safety first, throw it at me. All right. Well, I'm really glad I wrote my signature. There we go. We're throwing that out the window. That's the old environmental management system. That is not the Consumers Energy environmental management system. That second piece of paper, you'll notice, looks completely different. Organized different, colors are different, information is different. What you'll see there is basically, this is a process-based environmental management system. What you're going to see is on the two sides, those are your overhead. Training, communication, documents, maintenance, calibration. The overhead that every company, regardless of what they are, does to keep its operations flowing. In the center, you're going to see the core processes. This is what makes the company do what it does best. What you're actually looking at is the environmental management system for one of our generating facilities, which is why you see things such as coal combustion, fuel handling, things of that nature. These are those core processes. So when you look at this, at Consumers' environmental management system, this approach looks at things from the operational process. Not what the EPA told you to do, what the MDQ told you to do, not reacting to a spill or anything like that. What is it that we do? What's in that core? And within each one of those processes are environmental requirements, where you look at that process, it details who does what, when, and what information they need to help do their job and to help meet the environmental requirement over there. Completely different way of looking at the environmental management system. We want to look at it from the operational side and link in the environmental performance. Not be reactive, not look at it from a small or a high level, but right there with that good framework in the middle. So keep this picture in your mind. For those of you who actually work for Consumers Energy, if you look at Karin's website, this is actually on there. It's actually completely interactive, which will be my next visual aid presentation. And you can actually click on each one of those processes and find out what it is that that generation plant does in terms of their operational activities and how it links up with an environmental requirement or a way that they impact their environmental performance. So hold this image in your head. You're going to see a lot more of it across the company, at least if I have anything to say about it. Thank you.